Every winter I come to this point where I just think, screw this, I need some dopamine, I'm just going to blend whatever the hell of wool I have on my drumcarder. And today is that day. I have grabbed all of my bags of fiber and I'm just going to chaotically throw them on my Giant and see what we come up with. It will probably feature a lot of yellow heavily, because that is like my happy color, and I do have a lot of naturally dyed yellow fluffs. I want to start with this here little bit of blue tassel that I dyed yellow. For contrast, some purple. Maybe I'll also add in some of this very bright merino. I'm really just going for ultimate and utter chaos. Almost a carnivalesque yarn. A little bit of this grey sheep of the Andes wool. I also have this big bag of kind of random yellow experiments. I don't remember what they are, but going to get used. Currently, I have a color palette that I really like, but I think I also want to add some structural interest. So I'm going to add a little bit of Angora and silk. Just the tiniest of little bits. And I'm just adding it like this on the big drum so that it doesn't get all caught on the tiny drum. Maybe some more of that grey for the contrast and some extra purple. And then we can start actually blending all of it together in a second, maybe third pass. Yeah, I really like this color combination. It feels like almost royalty, royal jewelry, gold and purple. I'm going to blend it together a couple more times and I'll show you the finished bat. And then we'll make a second bat. I think we're going to make pure chaos yarn and make two bats that might be similar but a little bit different, and then spin a fun yarn. This is a second pass on my drumcarder and I'm going to keep it at this because it has a really painterly, impressionist, like aquarelle watercolor feeling, and I think I really like that. I also think this yarn might be great to keep the color sequence as is. So I am still going to make a second bat, but I think we're going to chain ply this one. Yeah, I think that will be cute, like a really painterly progression in a yarn. Doing projects like these is exactly why it makes sense to me that whenever I am doing a dyeing experiment, I only make such small samples. Like, I've got all this fiber, all this dyed fiber. I just throw it together on the drumcarder and do some dopamine spinning. I love it. I don't necessarily want this to be replicable. I just need it right now. There's no direct influence, but I'm fairly sure that I can find a Monet painting that looks like this. Like, editing Jente, I'm challenging you, find a Monet painting that looks like this. You see it, right? I'm going to oil the wheel a little bit first. Last spinning project, I went for a short forward draft. I'm thinking I'm going for a long draw, long backwards one now, just because I want to emphasize the chaos that is in this blend. I do have to admit, with great shame, that this project has been a little bit on the back burner. Even though like my main goal this year, 2026, was to do more spinning projects. Like I missed spinning, I wanted more spinning, but sometimes it's hard to resist the real quick, I just want to sit in the sofa and knit a bit. I'm not blaming myself and you are not blaming me either, right? But Evie has recently put out her spinning frolic video about chain plying, and that reminded me, hey, I was doing a chain ply project. Why am I not chain plying at this exact moment? So here we are, working on this project. So now we can all say in unison, thank you, Evie. I got to say thank you, Evie, for getting me to spin in the first place, of course. But seeing others do things is just very inspiring, and that counts for me as well. I don't come up with ideas in a vacuum. I'm inspired by so many people all over the world, all over the internet. So thank you, Evie, for unknowingly kicking my butt about this project. If you'd like to share, can you tell me some things that are particularly inspiring to you right now? Like what gives you so much inspiration and motivation to work in and around your crafts at this very moment? Or maybe share in the comments for all people to peruse and browse what other than my channels have been very inspiring, because as I just said, Evie, very big inspiration. I look up to her very much. I quickly want to share 2 small channels that I have been really enjoying these past few weeks. They're really small channels, and I'm going to try my best to not mess up their names because the names are so similar. It's firstly Little Lady Turnip, and secondly My Lady Sprout. Both are just the right amount of chaos to me. Ooh, yeah. And especially in Turnips videos, the right amount of folk art to me as well. Another thing that has greatly inspired me lately is this exposition that I went to with my friend Shenanigans in Motion, channel over here as well. It was from Michael Butler in a local museum, and the expo was called like the colorful chaos of Michael Butler. And that was it. It was colors and chaos, and what I enjoyed about this, like it was all like this. It was paper and some things that looked like they weren't finished. But what I loved so much about his exposition, and I only understood that more when I talked to like the wardens, is how much fun this artist tries to make the creation of art. He does not take himself seriously, and he reuses everything that he makes into new art. And my favorite part of this exposition, one room filled with a ginormous woven rug with, the loom still attached, and you were allowed to walk on it. That's an artist who is so free. Well, I am projecting this on him, of course, but I feel like he's so free with his inner child, and he's just playing, and that inspired me so much. If ever you get the chance to see this artist's work, I highly recommend. And in my video where I told you to stop doom scrolling and do some creative stuff, I talked about my sketchbooks and how I wanted to be more free in those as well, and that thought that I already had, and then seeing that exposition really cemented it in my brain, and I think I got to the point where I'm really free in my experimentation in this sketchbook, and I'm really happy about it. I get happy from seeing the drawings, even though they're not technically perfect, but I like looking at them. Sometimes just a juxtaposition of things, like I have been drawing a skull. but also really silly flowers. Now this is, at art school, I'm actually doing this project where I'm using the technique of dry ink, so I brush off all the ink that is on my brush. And I thought, why would I just when I can draw? This is just the ink that I was brushing off my brush, and now it's a skull, and it's also pine cones and my fellow students. I drew one of my childhood plushies, just like in 5 minutes, and it's an actual sketch. And then I've also started making collages. This is not something that I usually do, but oh my god, I had so much fun with reusing materials. Yeah, I've been feeling really inspired with my little sketchbook over here, and I like it. I like having this feeling, like the one that I felt during this exposition, that the artist had fun with their art. Now I'm going to have more fun with my art, mainly my spinning wheel. Thinking of it, it may sound a little bit weird that I just said that I have discovered that artists have fun with their art while you have been watching me have fun with my art for years now, and this is true, but I think I took myself too seriously, which is maybe still weird if you saw what I have been doing, but I feel freer in my art, and maybe I was already really free in my fiber arts, but not in my visual arts. Sometimes seeing someone else's art is what you need to make that click in your brain. I don't know, deep philosophical thoughts with Jente. I need to fetch more of my bats. I have been spinning more during this little conversation that we just now had on this project than I have before. Thank you, Evie, once more for kickstarting me back into gear. Now, if there ever is a project that symbolizes that freedom, the joy of creating, then it is this kind of spins, where it is just I throw whatever on the drumcarder and see what comes out of it. Like the end product almost doesn't matter. This yarn, it could very well be that the yarn will be not as pretty as the bat. That's okay. I just wanted to do this. I just had a want, a need to play with color and texture. I didn't have a specific end product in mind. I just wanted to play, and feeling that freedom in my art is also a way of like recharging my own mental batteries. Just let yourself be free and playful and chaotic. The end result, nobody cares. That is really recharging for me personally. The fluff is all spun up onto the bobbin. A nice thick bobbin. I'm going to be truly honest with you, less enthusiastic about these singles than I was about a bat. But that is okay, because I think that is just part of the creative process. It starts out awesome, and then maybe you have a little bit in the middle where you think, ah! But in the end, it is going to be awesome. Let's chain ply this absolute chaos of a singles. Chain plying, for anyone unfamiliar with it, is the act of plying your yarn back on itself by making loops with your hands, as if you were making a crochet chain. So it's actually two hobbies in one. I'm crocheting the yarn that I'm spinning. I personally make rather small loops whenever I'm doing a chain ply, but of course you can make these as big or as small as you want. By chain plying my yarn, I hope that in the end it looks like a yarn that is just gradually changing between colors, rather than something very muddy bar purple like. I know, of course, that with the wool that I chose, there is going to be mud in this yarn anyway. You can't really choose yellow and purple together and then expect her to not be mud, to not have just like brown patches. That's just color theory. But I hope that with the chain plying, it's not an entirely muddy yarn, that it has some bright patches as well. Approximately 210 meters of chain plied yarn. I would say very Rouen Cathedral. Told you I was going to find a Monet painting that would match this vibe. Do you agree that it looks like a color palette Monet would use? I think it does, which I love. I think, although I might love this skein even more if I had put less of the grey in there. But it's still a really good skein. It's a really good skein. It was, in fact, more about the fun of the blending and the fun of the spinning than it was about the resulting yarn. It's nice that we have a resulting yarn, but it was better that we had fun, that we were free in our creative expression than having a skein. That was the main goal. I just had a real need to play with color on the drumcarder, and I did. And I had fun, and this is it. I do believe a lot of you will just recognize that feeling of just wanting to throw everything on the drumcarder and just see whatever comes? If not, I would highly recommend, if you have a drumcarder or a blending board or hand cards, just play. Just play. I think there is a little bit of fun, a kind of little surprise in not knowing how the end result, how the yarn might look like. But that's just me. Maybe you have a different definition of fun, but I think this is fun. Anyway, if you like these kind of fiber shenanigans, then maybe you could like, comment or subscribe, but of course that is all up to you. And as for me, I will see you in a next video. But before we do that, maybe you could look at some more spinning shenanigans. Bye!